Aloha, it's Kyra. In this video, we're going to do a quick comparison and review of these 4 keyboards. They're all 96% keyboards with screens and knobs. We have the Aula S98, the Kludge S98, the Ajazz AK980, and the AKKO 5098B. So let's get into it. Okay, the first keyboard we're going to talk about is the Aula S98 Pro. It's a standard 96% plastic keyboard, has tri-mode connectivity, has the on and off switch in the back, dongle storage, Type-C connector port. It has a smart screen and a knob, just like the rest of these keyboards. Build quality, I would say that it's pretty sturdy. It's not the best, the most well built of these 4, but it's sturdy. As far as the keycaps, it's double shot PBT. They're shine through, which you'll be able to see when I show you the RGB effects. It's available in one other color, which is blue and white. Gasket mounted keyboard with a PC plate, and it has pre-lubed leobog star vector switches, which are a light switch. I think it's about 40 grams, and they're very creamy and smooth. I would say out of all of these keyboards, this is the smoothest switch. The RGB is extremely bright and saturated. We can cycle through the different effects. The one standout feature of this keyboard over the other 4 is that it has an RGB strip in the front. So for those of you that really like RGB, I think you will like that a lot. And let's get into the sound test. Okay, the next board we're going to talk about is the AKKO 5098B, here in the ink green colorway. It is, again, a standard 96% keyboard with a plastic chassis, tri-mode connectivity. It has the different Windows and Mac toggle switch back here, dongle storage, USB-C connection. The back is actually kind of neat. It has this metal inlay. It makes it look a little bit premium. So overall build quality, I would say it's pretty sturdy, and it actually, with this back plate, makes it look a little premium. The one thing that throws it off, in my opinion, is this knob. It's plastic and it just feels really cheap. And if it was aluminum or just better quality, I think it would actually add to the overall aesthetic and build quality of this board, which is, I think, pretty good for the most part. This keyboard is available in different colorways and themes. There's one keyboard that's Wasteland Survival, and it's like orange and black and has transparent keycaps. And then there's a Santorini themed keyboard with, looks like it's from Greece, and it's blue and white. So there's different options in terms of colorways and aesthetics for this board. It is a gasket mounted keyboard, so it's a little softer type feel. It also has a PC plate. The keycaps are different from the other 3 keyboards. It's an ASA profile, so it's not going to be for everybody, but some people might like that. It has kale pink ice cream switch, which is a very thocky switch. I think with these keycaps makes it sound very thocky. I think some of the other boards come with the AKKO piano piano switches, which from what I understand is one of the best AKKO switches. It's a very thocky keyboard. The RGB on this keyboard, I think, is what really makes this keyboard really shine. I mean, like, literally. It's extremely bright and saturated, and I think for people who love RGB, this keyboard may do it for you. So I would say overall, not my favorite in the lineup, but it's thocky and it has good RGB effects. So let's get to the sound test. And now we're going to talk about the Ajazz AKKO, another 98% plastic keyboard, tri-mode connectivity, has all the toggle switches back here for Windows and Mac, 2.4 gigahertz USB, Bluetooth, the USB-C connection, has a smart screen and a metal knob, which is pretty sturdy, little mountain GIF, little mountain graphic. And as far as the build quality is really sturdy. Plastic feels thick, and the back has this graphic. It says cool and this is life. Weird, huh? So that's interesting. It's available in 2 other colorways. It's available in this gray colorway, another purple and white, and then there's a blue and white version. This keyboard is interesting because it comes with an FR4 plate and it's gasket mounted, so the type feel on this is going to be pretty soft and bouncy. It's double shot PBT keycaps, and then the switches in this keyboard are the Gift V2 switches. The RGB on this keyboard is not very bright. I do think this little circle thing is really cute and adds a little bit of a personality to the board. But otherwise, the RGB on this is not very bright. So if you are an RGB fan, that may not be why you pick up this board. But otherwise, I think what makes this board stand out really is the FR4 plate, and it has kind of a unique sound signature and type feel because of the plate and the switch. I really like this switch actually, but let's do a quick sound test. Okay, last but not least is the Royal Kludge S98. This is a 96% plastic keyboard, tri-mode connectivity again, on and off toggle switch, US dongle storage, USB-C port, and a USB-A port, which is interesting. Has a smart screen and a metal knob. I would say of all the keyboards, it has the best knob and screen. Build quality, this thing is built very well. It's very robust, it's very sturdy, The lines are clean, and it's heavy. You can just tell that they thought through every detail on this board, and I can see why it's popular. It just feels like a really premium board for what you're paying. It's available in 3 other colorways. You have the lavender purple, sky blue, clay green, and this one here is the turquoise green. It has a steel plate and it's top mounted to sort of dampen some of the sounds and echoes, and it also gives it a much stiffer type feel. Double shot PBT keycaps. It has the Viridian switches. There's also another option to get the tactile switches. The RGB on this is also very bright and saturated. So again, for the RGB fans, this is a really good option. And I think it has this really cool feature. It has this little toggle switch back here that allows you to toggle between USB-C connection and 2.4 gigahertz connection, which I think is like a really nice feature to have, and it adds to the overall functionality of this keyboard. So with that said, let's get to the sound test. Okay, so now I just want to talk very briefly about how these keyboards stack up in terms of my personal ranking and recommendation of them. I want to preface this with saying that a lot of this is based on preference, so other people might have a different idea of what they would recommend, but this is just based off of my experience with these keyboards and my preference. And what's interesting is that my final ranking of these keyboards is very different from my initial impressions of them and my initial ranking of them. But my final rankings start with, in my number 1 spot, the Ajazz AKKO. Now, this initially was not my favorite in the beginning, but after using it, and I just really have fell in love with this keyboard. I think the feel of the keystrokes on it are very satisfying. There's a feedback on every keystroke that just feels very good, and it sounds good too. Functionality, the connectivity of this keyboard is like seamless. It connects to everything. It can be a MacBook, it can be a Windows computer, an iPhone, it doesn't matter. It seamlessly connects to everything straight away. And so I really appreciate the fact that straight out of the box, there's no software issues with this keyboard and it connects to everything. The only downfall I would say is the RGB on this is not bright at all, but RGB is not my biggest deciding factor. I do appreciate RGB, it's just not my biggest selling point. So number 1 recommendation and my number 1 spot would be the Ajazz AKKO. Now my number 2 is the Kludge S98. And this was in my number 2 spot initially as well. I think overall, most people will like this keyboard. I think in almost every aspect, it is probably number 1 amongst all 4 of these keyboards. I think objectively speaking, build quality, it's very sturdy, it's very robust. Aesthetics, the colors are beautiful and saturated. It has a unique design functionally, it's designed very well. Like everything works really well, and in the operating of the wheel and the screen, all of it is very intuitive. And it even has a USB-C or USB-A port right there, which I think is really unique and useful for different things. And the RGB on this is so bright. If you take the keycaps off, it's blinding. But I think most people, this would be their pick. It's my number 2 simply because I would say I didn't love the type feel or sound as much as I liked the Ajazz type feel and sound. But overall, this is an amazing keyboard. I mean, you can't go wrong with this one. I think if anybody gets this keyboard, I think they'd be very happy. So that's my number 2. In my number 3, the Aula S98 Pro. This actually initially was my number 1. I think aesthetically, this is probably one of my favorite types of designs. The gradient keycaps, it's stealthy looking, it's clean looking, it looks premium, feels premium. I really like the knob. It has like this metal inlay right here that makes it look really nice. The RGB is pretty. It has this nice little RGB strip in the front. Now the problem comes in from after using it for some time, I discovered that it had some connectivity issues, which for me is just a deal breaker. I'm sure that maybe it's just this keyboard or operator error, but for me I want a keyboard to work straight out of the box and be intuitive and easy to use and connect to everything that I have. For some other people who just wire their keyboards, it's probably not going to be a deal breaker for them, but for me, that just irritated me and really just it fell down on my rankings. But I think it is a beautiful keyboard. I think it feels and sounds great. Like I said, initially this was my number 1. I love typing on this thing, and I am really sad that the connectivity isn't great on this keyboard. I even reset it and everything, but I could not figure it out. So this is my number 3, the Aula S98 Pro. Again, other people might have a different experience of it, but I just, you know, connectivity wise and functionally, I just wasn't impressed with it. Now in my last place, the AKKO 5098B. This is, overall, I think it's an okay keyboard. I think it's, sound-wise, it sounds great. It's very thocky. The RGB on this is also very saturated and bright. I think RGB lovers are going to love it. I think it has the biggest screen, and I imagine if you put like a nice little animation on it, it could be really cool. But my issues with this keyboard, number 1, the scroll wheel is plastic, and it just makes the overall design language feel cheap because of that one scroll wheel, at least in my opinion. I do think it's really cool that it has these little side RGB strips. I like the sound. This also had connectivity issues. Could not figure out how to connect it to my phone and my laptop. It just was not very seamless. Connecting it through USB-C was fine, but like Bluetooth wise, I could not figure it out. And the functionality of this screen is not as intuitive as the other keyboards. But I think there are people who will love this keyboard. It's just not my favorite. So yeah, I think that's about it. Thank you for joining me. If you enjoyed this video, if you found it useful or informative, please like and subscribe to the channel. I appreciate the support. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments. If there's any of these that you like or you prefer, I would love to know. But otherwise, thank you for joining me, and until next time, aloha.